Why smart communication matters. Have you ever found yourself stuck in an argument that started from something totally harmless? Maybe someone you love just needed to vent, but instead of connecting, you both ended up frustrated, talking past each other. Or maybe you've tried to share your thoughts at work, only to be ignored or misunderstood. Either way, it hurts. This week, I want to share something deeply personal, something I've learned the hard way. It's about how to communicate wisely. Wise communication sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful skills we can develop. Why? Because it determines whether people listen to you or walk away, whether your words build bridges or walls. Let me give you two situations. In the first one, you keep running into conflict. Every time you speak, it turns into an argument. It drains you. Or worse, your voice is ignored entirely. No one listens. No one cares. Now picture the second scenario. When you speak, people listen. Not because you're loud, but because your words carry weight. You're honest, but never offensive. People trust you, even when you tell the truth. They respect you and want to hear more. We'd all choose the second option, wouldn't we? That's the magic of wise communication. And today, I'll share 5 real-life techniques I've used myself. They're simple, practical, and surprisingly powerful. Ready? Let's dive in. The first magic sentence: listen or solve. Let me start with the first practical experience. This one has saved me from countless arguments, and it all boils down to one simple question. Imagine this situation. You're in a relationship. One day, your girlfriend or your wife comes to you and says, "Lately, my skin feels itchy. I don't know why. I'm worried." Naturally, you want to help. You care, so you respond, "Maybe check the skincare product you've been using." A lot of people get allergic reactions these days. Sounds reasonable, right? You're just offering a suggestion. But then she replies, "What? That cream cost nearly $1 million. There's no way it's causing this." Now, you're confused. You just tried to help. So you say, "Well, if you're telling me about the problem, and I'm giving you a possible cause, why are you getting upset?" And just like that, boom, a simple moment of concern turns into a full-blown argument. Sound familiar? This happens more often than you think. Someone opens up to us, and we rush to fix the problem. But here's the thing. They didn't ask for a solution. They just needed us to listen. So here's the first magic sentence that can prevent all of that. Do you want me to just listen? Or do you want a solution? That's it. Before you jump into solving anything, ask that one question. It does 2 powerful things. It shows that you care enough to ask what they need. It gives them the chance to reflect on what they actually want. Because, believe me, many people don't even know what they need in the moment. They're overwhelmed and just want to feel heard. And when you ask this question, you're helping them make that decision clearly. If they say, "I just need someone to listen," then listen. Be fully present. Don't offer advice. Don't interrupt. Just be there. If they say, "I need help," then great, offer your solution. They're now open to hearing it. This approach works wonders, not just in romantic relationships, but also with colleagues, friends, and even strangers. Let me show you how I use the same principle when talking to a boss or someone in a higher position. Obviously, you wouldn't say, "Do you want me to listen or solve?" to your boss. That sounds too direct, even rude. Instead, you say something like, "Is there any way I can help with this?" It's polite, it's respectful, but it still puts the decision in their hands. If they want help, they'll tell you. If they just wanted to share their frustration, they'll appreciate that you listened without trying to take over. In both cases, whether with a loved one or a leader, you create clarity, no assumptions, no stepping on toes, just understanding. Use this sentence seriously. It's short, powerful, and incredibly effective. Arguments will disappear. Misunderstandings will vanish. And people will love talking to you because they'll finally feel understood. The second magic sentence: avoiding arguments during disagreements. Now let's move to the second key principle of wise communication. This one is especially useful in discussions and debates, the kind that often turn into arguments if we not careful. We've all been there. You start a conversation calmly. You're discussing something with your partner, a friend, or a coworker. At first, everyone seems polite. But then, as soon as someone disagrees or feels unheard, things heat up, voices rise, people interrupt each other, and before you know it, the discussion turns into a shouting match. Or worse, someone shuts down completely, sits in silence, but holds onto resentment. Sound familiar? It happens all the time. The real problem is this: no one is listening. Everyone's just waiting for their turn to speak. Or worse, they jump in while the other person is talking. That's the number one trigger for conflict in conversations: interruption. So how do we fix that? Here's the second magic sentence. You say this before the discussion even begins. Calmly and respectfully, you say, "I have something I'd really like to share. And I think it's important that we both understand each other clearly. So let's make a small rule for this conversation. When you speak, I promise to listen until you're done without interrupting. Then when I speak, I hope you'll do the same. That way we both feel heard and respected." Sound good? Most people will agree to that. Why? Because you're giving them the floor first. You're not trying to dominate the conversation. You're saying, "You go first, I'll listen, then it's my turn." That kind of approach immediately lowers defenses. It creates a fair space. And once they agree to that simple rule, it becomes much easier to point it out if they interrupt later. You can gently remind them, "Remember, we agreed to let each other finish before responding. Let me finish my thought, then I'll hear your reply." It's not aggressive, it's not confrontational, but it works like a charm. This structure makes the conversation clearer and more respectful. When people feel like they won't be cut off, they speak more calmly, they listen more openly, and most importantly, they're more likely to understand your point of view. Of course, if you're talking to someone in a higher position, like a boss or an elder, you might need to phrase it differently. You don't say, "Let's set a rule." That would sound disrespectful. Instead, you say something like, "May I share my thoughts fully before you respond? I'll be brief, and then I'd really appreciate your feedback." It's still the same idea, but delivered with humility. And in return, you're likely to get the same courtesy. Wise communication is not about winning arguments. It's about creating space for truth to be heard on both sides. And often, that starts with simply agreeing not to interrupt each other. So to summarize the second tool, before any serious discussion or disagreement, create an agreement that both sides will listen without interruption. Be the one to offer it first. Offer the other person the first turn. Show respect, then ask for the same in return. When both sides feel heard, even difficult conversations can lead to deeper understanding instead of division. And that is the true goal of communication: not to win, but to connect. The psychological shift. How to make people embrace your ideas. Willingly let SAUV already mastered the first two tools. Asking whether someone wants a solution or just to be heard, and setting the no interruption rule. These are powerful steps. But what happens when you in a conversation where someone still disagrees with you, even after both sides have spoken respectfully? That's when the third strategy comes in. This isn't a phrase or a sentence. It's a psychological shift. A way to present your idea so the other person doesn't feel like you reinforcing it on them. Instead, they end up choosing it themselves. And when people feel like the idea was theirs, or that it aligns with their own values, they embrace it more openly, more naturally, and with far less resistance. So, how does this work? Here's the key. Instead of trying to convince someone directly, You lead them into a space where your idea becomes the most reasonable option based on what they already believe. Let's take a simple example. Suppose you're working on a team project and you have a suggestion for a more efficient process. You could say, I think we should change the way we do this because it's wasting time. But that approach creates pressure. It challenges the status quo, and people may feel threatened or judged. They might resist, not because your idea is wrong, but because the way you presented it makes them feel like they're being corrected. Instead, try this. Start with a shared concern. Say, I've been thinking about how tight our deadlines have been lately. It seems like the current method is putting a lot of stress on the team. What do you think? Most people will agree they've probably felt the same thing. Now, you've created a shared problem. You're on the same side. Then you say, I've been wondering if there's a way we could simplify that step, just to give ourselves a bit more breathing room. I had a small idea, but I'd love to know what you think. Then offer your idea casually, without insisting. That way, if they like it, they feel like they helped shape it. If they improve it, even better, they feel ownership. And now, your idea becomes our idea. That's where buy-in happens. This strategy works in nearly every setting. Relationships, teams, even sales. It works because people don't like being told what to do, but they love discovering a solution that makes sense to them. And this is the core of persuasive, wise communication. Make your point feel like their conclusion. You guide the conversation with questions, not commands. You invite them to explore the logic, not force them to agree. And you respect their pace, never rushing, never pushing. In short, stop pushing your ideas like a salesman. Start guiding like a friend. When someone feels safe, respected, and unpressured, they become far more open. And when your idea naturally aligns with their reality, they'll accept it, not reluctantly, but with enthusiasm. So here's the third principle to remember. Don't aim to convince. Aim to lead them toward a realization that your idea solves a problem they already see. That way, you don't get resistance, you get agreement, and it feels effortless. Using vulnerability to build connection and influence. Here's a surprising truth. The most persuasive communicators aren't always the smartest, the most confident, or even the most articulate. They're the ones who dare to be vulnerable at the right moment. Why? Because vulnerability creates connection, and connection builds trust. And when people trust you, they'll listen, even when you challenge their assumptions. Let's take a step back. Think about a time when someone admitted something personal to you. Maybe they said, I don't really know how to handle this, or honestly, I messed up. Didn't that honesty draw you closer to them? You probably respected them more, not less. That's the power of vulnerability. It humanizes us. It softens the tension in a conversation. And in conflict, it can completely shift the emotional dynamic. Now, apply this to communication. Suppose you're in a disagreement with a coworker or friend. Instead of launching into your points right away, you start with something like, this might sound a little off, and I might even be wrong, but here's what I'm feeling right now. That sentence alone lowers defenses. You've told them, I'm not here to win. I'm here to understand, to share. Or let's say you're asking someone to do something difficult. You could say, I know I usually act like I've got it all figured out, but the truth is, I'm overwhelmed right now, and I could really use your help. In one breath, you've shown humility, honesty, and trust. That hits harder than any perfectly crafted argument ever could. Here's the psychology behind it. When we open up first, when we risk being judged, we trigger something called reciprocal vulnerability. People feel compelled to meet us where we are. It's a basic human reflex. When you take off your armor, others start to lower theirs. This is why great leaders don't pretend to be flawless. They share their doubts. They admit their past mistakes. They say, I'm still figuring this out. And that makes others lean in, not pull away. Because they don't feel lectured, they feel invited into something real. In daily life, you can use this in subtle ways. Before offering advice, you might say, "I've struggled with this too, so I totally get where you're coming from." Or in a heated discussion, you might say, "I might not be hearing you right, I've had a tough week, and maybe I'm projecting." These aren't tricks, they're truths. And when spoken sincerely, they build bridges instead of walls. So here's the principle for use vulnerability to create emotional safety. Don't be afraid to be seen as uncertain, imperfect, or even wrong. Because once people feel safe around you, they'll listen. And often, they'll follow not because they have to, but because they want to. The principle 5, earning respect without dominance or drama respect. It's what most people truly crave, not fear, not approval, just genuine respect. But here's the mistake. Many of us think respect comes from being loud, assertive, always having the final word. In reality, the most respected communicators are often the calmest, the ones who don't force anything, but still hold the room. And in this final part, I'll show you how that works. First, let's make one thing clear. Respect is not demanded, it's earned. And it's earned through consistency. When people see you keep your word, stay composed in chaos, and speak with clarity not noise, they start to trust you. And trust is the foundation of respect. So what does this look like in practice? Imagine you're in a meeting. A heated debate erupts. One person is raising their voice, interrupting everyone, dominating the space. But in the corner, there's someone who hasn't said much, and when they finally speak, it's calm, it's thoughtful, and it cuts straight to the heart of the matter. Suddenly, everyone goes quiet. Why? Because respect isn't about volume, it's about weight. And your words carry weight when they come from observation, restraint, and intention. Here's a technique I've used countless times. When emotions are running high, instead of reacting, I pause, I wait a beat, and then I say something like, "Can I share a perspective that might simplify this?" Or, "It sounds like there's a lot of passion here. Let's take a breath and make sure we're solving the right problem." Simple, grounded, and powerful. That's the kind of communication people remember and respect. Now here's another key. Avoid over-explaining. The more you try to convince, the more people resist. But when you speak with confidence and brevity, people lean in. If someone challenges your idea, don't rush to defend every detail. You can calmly say, "That's fair. Here's why I still believe this is the best path forward." No drama, no defensiveness, just centered clarity. Also, never underestimate the power of boundaries. Respect grows when people know where your line is. If someone talks over you, instead of snapping, you can calmly say, "I'd like to finish this thought. I listened to you, please give me the same courtesy." That sentence alone changes the tone. You're not attacking, you're anchoring. And people can feel that strength. Even in disagreements, you can command respect without aggression. Use statements like, "I hear what you're saying, but I see it differently, and here's why." Or, "Let's agree to disagree, but I appreciate you sharing that." You're not trying to dominate, you're showing maturity. And that's what earns respect in the long run. To wrap up this part, here's the mindset shift. Stop trying to impress. Start trying to express with calm, clarity, and conviction. The quieter your power, the deeper it resonates. And in a world full of noise, calm confidence is magnetic. That's the end. But before we close this series, let me know, would you like a bonus part where I walk you through real life conversations step by step and show how these techniques apply in love, work, and conflict? Let me know. The strategies and the emotional intelligence behind wise communication. It's time to bring it all to life. In this final part, I'll walk you through 3 real-life situations: romantic relationships, workplace tension, and family conflict, showing you exactly how to use everything we've discussed, word for. Scenario 1. Your partner is upset, but doesn't want advice. Let s. Say your partner comes home, clearly frustrated. They start venting about their day, how a colleague embarrassed them in a meeting, how their boss didn't back them up. You feel the urge to jump in and say, "You should have said this," or "next time, try doing that." But don't. Here's what wise communication sounds like. Sounds like today was really heavy. Do you want me to just listen, or are you looking for a way to fix this? Simple, gentle, and powerful. You've shown empathy and offered support without assuming what they need. If they say, "Just listen," you stay present. If they say, "I need help," now your advice will be welcomed, not rejected. Scenario 2. Your boss is ranting about company problems. He's pacing, venting about recent losses, the underperformance of the team, the pressure from above. You're just one person on the team. What do you say? Instead of offering an unsolicited opinion or pretending to know more than you do, you ask, "I hear this is really weighing on you." This shows maturity and respect. You're not pretending to solve it all. You're offering support in a way that honors the hierarchy without sounding passive. Scenario 3. Family argument over a sensitive topic. You're at a family dinner. Emotions are running high. Someone brings up a political or personal issue that causes division. People start cutting each other off. Voices rise. Here's how you reset the tone. Can we try something for a second? Let's each share our full thought without interruption. We don't have to agree, just hear each other out. I'll go last. You frame a rule that creates space for understanding. Most importantly, you put yourself last, which diffuses ego and invites cooperation. Closing message: these are real-life applications. No fluff, no perfect world advice. And the more you practice them, the more natural they'll become. Eventually, you'll stop having to think so hard and start speaking with power and ease. So here's my invitation to you. Try just one of these sentences in the next real conversation that matters. Just one. Then come back and let me know how it went. So, let's take a moment to breathe. You've just walked through some of the most subtle, yet powerful lessons on communication. Not the kind you learn in textbooks or boardrooms, but the kind that shapes relationships, diffuses conflict, and earns deep respect. You've learned that sometimes asking, "Do you need me to listen or help?" is smarter than any advice you could give. You've seen how a single sentence said the right way can protect your relationship, your job, your peace. You've understood that wise communication isn't about knowing more. It's about feeling more. It's about listening. It's about timing. It's about presence. And most importantly, you've realized that wisdom in conversation doesn't come from being the loudest or the fastest. It comes from being the calmest. This series wasn't just about clever phrases. It was about rewiring the way we see dialogue. Now, I don't expect you to master everything overnight. I don't expect you to remember every line, every step. But I do ask this. Remember how it felt when you heard something that made sense deep down, something that made you go, "Yes, that's what I needed." And the next time life throws you into a difficult conversation, try one thing. Just one. Pause before speaking. Ask before advising. Listen without fixing. That alone might change everything. Thank you for being here, for staying until the end, and for being open to growth. Wise communication isn't a talent, it's a choice. And now it's yours. If this video resonated with you, if even one sentence made you pause and think differently, then please take a moment to support this channel. Hit that like button to let us know it made a difference. Share this with someone who might need a gentle reminder on how powerful words can be. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next part of this series. Your support doesn't just help the video, It helps build a space where real, honest, and practical lessons can keep growing and reaching more people who need it. So thank you, truly, for watching, for listening, and for being part of this journey.